Hello, the game has started. It's my opponent to go first. I've got what looks like a non-bingo rack, 5 vowels, but there are some 5-vowel, 8-letter words. None is coming to mind. And my challenge now is to reduce the vowel consonant imbalance. And I also don't want to hang on to the F. It's a good scoring tile and it's a non-bingo-y tile. But how do I jettison U, F and I? Not easy. I've got the full suffix rather. So is opponent going to provide any floaters? And what if they change? That would put me in a tricky spot. I've got AUF, 12 points, but keeping EIIL. Okay, so opponent has provided some floaters. Let me initially check for bingos. Not seeing anything with D. R-A-B. Gosh, there's something close here. Fably or, but I don't think that has an E. L and Y. So do I have a double through the L? Don't think so. So how can I sort out this rack? Is there anywhere good for the F? Well, I do have a UF here for 26 points, which does a decent job. It's a decent score. It's not providing any new floaters and it's taking out 4 of the existing ones, and the rack leave isn't the worst in the world, and this is certainly better than changing. And I draw one more I. Always a hazard when you retain a duplicate. Ghibli is good. G-I-B-L-I. Not sure there's anywhere for that. Well, there is, column 11, hanging on to the L. So that would sort the rack out, but at the expense of putting a vowel next to this triple letter square. Opponent blocks that, 29 points, good score. Now, there is nowhere for Ghibli. I note in passing that AD takes a Z on the end, so that's a hottish Z spot. Now, Bilgi is good, and so is Beiji. Yep, and although the E is a nicer tail than the L, when you're keeping it with 2 I's, the L as a consonant is better. Just pausing about this vowel next to a double word square, very attractive for not only a double word, but a double word. Which, of course, Bilgi would be less likely to hit, but I think 2 vowels and a consonant has got to be better than 3 vowels. But let me pause, because there is this spot under BO where B and G can both go, but I don't have anything to go under LO. Not seeing anything in column 11, so yeah, I am going with Beiji for 22. And I draw another I, of course. But I keep drawing scoring tiles. I had the F, then the B, and now the X. Onto a Y, which I've just blocked, I would have had Exility, not a bingo, because that's a 7. But it would sort the rack out. However, I have blocked that. Phew, I thought that was a double for a moment, but it's only 24 points. Now, the play that I have seen is Ilex and also Ixtal, but Ilex gets the X above the I, so it gets doubled and then counts again. Box is good, but again, I'm constrained by the inability to get it to score twice. So this is what I'm thinking of. Ilex for 31. It does take an S in front, but that's not massively dangerous. Ixtal would place the X under this double word square and score less, so definitely an inferior play. Any other X spots? What about a play down column 10, burning an I, ending IX? I don't think there is one. Okay. Well, I was thinking I could play just XI, but that doesn't get doubled. And if I played it where the X is now, it's still not going to score anything like 31, so I'm going with this. Wow, what a draw. Fantastic. This feels very close to a bingo. I've got Inherit, but this board isn't particularly bingo friendly unless you've got an S, in which case you've got row J and column 2. Column 13 available with, well, 4 overlaps, so that's pretty constrained, especially given what would need to go after the G in last place. Just I, O, and U. So, do I have anything with the blank as an S? As a 7, I would certainly have an 8 through a T. Hirsty is good. Oh, wow. And Hirsty, Hirstie, does play in column 2. Wow. Will that stay available? Does Hirsty play anywhere else? Fars is good, Bot is good, but LOI isn't. And it doesn't play in column 13, so I've got the sole spot for a 7. I do have Inherit with the blank as an N, but there's nowhere for that. Far only takes an S. So, what about 8s? Well, I think the only floaters are I and L. And if opponent blocks Hirsty, then those moves are also likely to be blocked. However, let me consider. Do I have anything through the I? Unlikely. Although I'm close to rhinitis, which is a 3I bingo, but that doesn't have an E. And its plural is ES at the end, not rhinites. So what about the L? I don't think Blithia or Slithia are good. Oh, fantastic. Hirsty remains available. But look at this, there's a better spot. Down here for 83. Fantastic. Now, what does Hirsty take? Possibly nothing, possibly an R, possibly an S. I'm thinking nothing, but possibly an R, and I don't think it takes an S. However, that's for another time to consider. This is my new rack. I would have Repairman as a 9 through the right 2 tiles. Not seeing a 7. What about I and L? Wow, and a few more floaters to consider. This rack plus an I. Man and men are the obvious suffixes, and man the more likely since it splits up the duplicate A. So it's man with rape or pair. Now, well, through a T, and there isn't one, I would have permatan and an anagram. Parament. No T. Okay, I've not seen anything through the L. I've got the para prefix and the pre prefix. So what about an A? That would be 3 A's. I'm not seeing anything. 14 minutes on my clock. How about the L? Wow, that's a duplicate. And the E. Now, is there an I? Oh, there is, but it's in the wrong spot before pair main, P-E-A-R, main. Yeah, it would need to be 3 squares lower. And I'm not seeing an anagram. So, I don't think there are any more floaters to consider. What to do here? So, I do lead. I could play map down here. The score isn't massive, it's only 23 points, but the rack leave is good, and I'm taking out floaters, and in particular I'm taking out row O, which is a triple word lane. So can I do any better? Can I score off the H as well? Well, what about doing this? Hanap. Oh, that's even less for a worse rack leave. So let me go back to map. Pam also plays. And Pam is going to be better fractionally, just because fewer tiles go in front of PA than in front of MA. So am I missing anything? This is only 23 points, and M and P are good scoring tiles. If there's a big enough score elsewhere, I would be minded to play it. 13 minutes on my clock. Yeah, I am going with this. Okay, duplicates, all bingo-y tiles. Very hard to see bingos, or harder to see bingos when you have duplicates. But there could be one. Double N, not great. There is the non-prefix with rare. No, nothing is coming to mind as a 7. Duplicate R often shows up as an RE beginning and an ER or OR ending, and I have the tiles for both of those, but leaving AN, A-double-N rather. 14 minutes on opponent's clock, 12 on mine. So what about the pairs of tiles? PA. No. Okay, well, opponent locks up the bottom of the board for bingos. I'm not going to spend time looking for a 10-letter play. How to sort this rack out? Well, basically just play off the tiles I've drawn, I think. Not that AENR is massively great to hang on to, but it is fairly decent and a lot better than random tiles. But how am I going to score by playing Nor? I could play Noir through the I, but that is 8 points. Is Invoicer good? Let's quickly find out. And it's not. Okay. Does Hursty take an R? I don't think it does. So, where can I get value from the scoring tiles on the board? What about all these P's and M's at the bottom? Raleigh is good. Papa is good. I don't have anything to go after Ale. Nothing onto the V. Wow. Should I change? I don't have a vowel, a consonant which goes above the I, so I can't play parallel to Ilex. Nothing goes after Lout. Just not seeing how to get value. What about N and F? F and H, rather. A's and O's can go above the H, but I'm not seeing anything ending with an F. This is not the sort of rack I would normally change with. It doesn't feel bad enough. No for 6. This does have some merit. It takes out 2 floaters, the only 2 floaters. It takes out column 2. I do have a lead. It's only 30 points. But it's problematic because it's tightening the board up too much, because if opponent then plays in column 13 with a D, for example, then I could have the best rack in the world and nowhere to play, so I'm sort of minded to keep this open. "10 minutes on my clock, 39 tiles in the bag. What about a play in column 10? I quite like Noir here because it's scoring 6 points rather than nothing. These are the tiles I would change, and this is literally providing nothing at all for opponents, so this is better than changing. I am going with this. And I have Dark Net and Tranked. I don't think either goes on the board at the moment, but it does, because AD takes a D. Oh, an opponent goes there. Agony. Oh my word, I just spotted this beautiful 7-letter lane where Tranked would have played nicely. 47 points for opponent. Ouch. So I'm checking Hurstia. Not good. Okay, so this is the scenario I envisaged after blocking Ilex, that opponent would find some good score, and I would then be placed in a tricky situation. So does Ilex take anything else other than an S in front? No, it doesn't. Do I have anything with an I? So that's trained plus a K. No. What about the L? No. What about the C of cos? No, but I could play tracked through that. My K can also go under the O, but I can't get that to play twice. This is wreck. This is rack wrecking. However, it's 28 points. Just wondering about placing my K next to Ale for Kale, but then I don't have any way of getting it to play twice, so that would only be 18 points. Wow, but the rest of the rack is pretty nice. And look at this, with the Eye of Ilex, I've got Retain, the best 6-letter set. So although this is a 10-point sacrifice, I think it's worth taking. So is there anywhere else good for the K? This is 18 points. OK is 16. Anywhere good for the K? I don't really want to play off. I think tick may be good, T-I-K, but I don't want to play off either of my vowels, because it's the vowels which make this rack so good. I am going with Kale. And I draw a U, so I have unrated as a 7, but there are no 7-letter lanes on the board. What about these 2 floaters, I and L? Indurate, fantastic. What about the L? No. What about the C? Well, there are bingos, but do any of them fit? Uncarted has been blocked by the K. Uncrated. Underact. Yeah, they've all been blocked. Now, opponent has played only 25 points. Tease doesn't take anything in front. Opponent's created no new lanes. However, I have urinated, which is good. So 74 points for Urinated. Ruinated also plays in the same spot. They are, I think, Urinated slightly better. The hotness of row B is a 5-letter play ending in a big tile on the triple letter square, and there are more of those with the R of ruinated than the U of urinated. The other two anagrams are indurate, which doesn't get doubled, and daturine, which doesn't play. So I think this is the play through the eye, but am I missing a bingo anywhere else? Well, 6 minutes on my clock. I'm not going to spend time looking. And, well, it's not a great rack, it's not a disaster. The main problem with it is the lack of balance. Plenty of vowels on the board from my bingo. U, A and E all offer value. I lead by 60, still one blank to come. The only bingo lanes are through the C, which is very restricted. C has got to be in 4th place, and column 2, which is very unrestricted. But column 2 plays will open access to triple word squares in column 1. The remaining pool, not particularly bingo-y. J, Q, and all this junk at the end. However, there are bingos in what's left, especially given that there is a blank. So, what to do? And opponent plays dough for only 13 points. Fantastic. Oh, and TO takes nothing in front. I had my eye on a 3-letter play, making mad and G, but nothing goes in front of TO. I can happily burn one of my S's, but where? Still an S and a blank to come. So there's no advantage in me playing MEE, setting up my S's, because opponent could use that spot. If I play in row B, I'll be opening a bingo lane. I don't want to do that. My lead isn't particularly great, only 40 points. What about doing this? Hanging on to my precious vowel, scoring 20 points. Well, I've got the A for axis, but there are 2 A's out there. That's not a huge number. There are 18 tiles in the bag. So that's not a reason for not playing it. Even if opponent does play in row C, they'll be burning tiles and they won't be bingoing. And I may have access to the triple word square in column 8, which, although it would create a bingo lane, would be quite a restricted one. But is this the play? 20 points. I'm prepared to burn the S. I don't think Kale takes anything other than an S, so I don't have an A, for example, DS play. Just counting the vowels. 11 out of 25, so there's plenty of vowels to come. I am going with ads. I draw one more vowel, which is good. I draw the V, which may be good because it may be a good blocking tile. I've got Vim in column 14, but that opens up access to column 15 because EM takes E, S and U as floaters. Now, this U is a bingo-y floater. Maybe I should have paid more attention to that. Oh, an opponent bingos. Fantastic for them. And I trail by 16, 9 tiles in the bag. SNE is good. So I've got Vegas for 51 points. Is this the play? Is this the play? 3 minutes on my clock, 9 tiles in the bag. M&T, pretty handy rack leave. What's opponent got at the bottom left? Because there's a Q out there. But what there isn't is they can't play a QU play in column 1 because UL not good. Caddy, Cade also don't play. chins doesn't play, so I don't think any play in column 1 coming down can have the Q next to the I. That would be devastating. But opponent could have quins where I've got Vigors, so I think Vigors is the spot. Only 2 minutes on my clock. I am going with this. Wow, great pickup, super balance, and I dodged the Q, and I deprive my opponent of the U. But look at this, that's the U have urinated. If opponent's got the Q, they'll be going down there. But hopefully, if they play there, I can play in row A. Just 4 tiles in the bag. This rack looks pretty good, but I'm not seeing a bingo. And there are no lanes. The C no longer available. Well, the U is available. But I'm not seeing a bingo with this rack. I lead by 35 points. Can I hang on? There goes Quag. So, how long? I lead by 7. I've got 2 minutes on my clock. 1 tile in the bag. Big tiles to come, the J and the W. Neither can play bottom left. Opponent can't play, has got no tile to go above the G. I've got the A and the U. Do I have anything which goes next to the Y? I'm thinking about a play down here. That would have to have A, O. So this is all I can see down here for 25. Then M-U-R, top left. Wow, 1 minute on my clock. Not good. But what's the worst opponent can do? 1 minute on my clock. What's the worst opponent can do at the bottom with the J or the W? Neither of those can go next to the I, so why don't I just score big in row A, or as big as I can? I've got Morts in this spot. I may be missing a 7 here, but I've got Morts for 40. That, well, it's not going to guarantee me the game because there could be a big J spot I haven't seen. I've only got a minute on my clock. Opponent can play Jow. Great, let them, because keeping OR, I can play parallel to that. So any big J spots other than column 14? No, I don't think so. I am going with Morts. Oh, and of course I draw a tile, which I'd overlooked. However, I've still got OR, but opponent will have another turn. But OR is going to score handsomely. Opponent's got J and both Ws. So 10 minutes on opponent's clock, but less than 1 minute on mine. Now, can I go out with ORR? Door is good in row K for 6 points, so I have that in my back pocket. Even if opponent plays in column 14. If you can see a move which wins, sometimes it can be worth taking because you can look for better plays and then overlook a winning play for opponent, which is always super annoying. However, one shouldn't overdo that because you can end up sacrificing too many points. 9 minutes on opponent's clock. I've just come back from the MGI Classic in Milton Keynes, a 3-day tournament, 25 games over the bank holiday. Absolutely amazing tournament, one of the best tournaments held in the United Kingdom for many, many years. Super close. I was ranked 13th entering it. Players from all over the world, world champions and Grandmasters. I was rated 13th and I finished 9th, which I was pleased with. And money was paid out to the top 8, which was less pleasing. But super tournament anyway. And yes, I make that point because the difference between finishing 9th, which I finished, and 8th, which was in the money, was just spread. Both of us were on the same number of wins. And I think even 7th place person was also on the same number of wins. So spread is important. I was a couple of 100 points away from my opponent, but in other circumstances it can be a much smaller amount. And people have lost out on money or winning a tournament with spreads as low as 1 point. So I can go out with door. Is there anywhere else I can go out and score more? Rort is good. That doesn't quite fit. And Tor, T-O-R-R, also doesn't fit. 8 minutes on opponent's clock. Wow, what a stroke of good fortune. I think opponent having the J and 2 Ws. They're not going to be able to get rid of all 3 of those, and whatever they don't get rid of is available for me as countback if I can go out. So, Iwi for opponent, blocking my out. Oh, and also preserving the tiles for Zhao top left. Very clever. Okay, I hadn't contemplated this scenario. Only 30 seconds left. That's not many. What if I play hanging on to the O for Joe? Am I setting up anything? No, I'm not. And I'm running out of time. I may have been able to play double R elsewhere for more. But I'm expecting Zhao to come down, and then I've got J-O. If Zhao doesn't come down... Wow. Only 41 points. And only 14 seconds. Where's best for O on the board as it stands? 2 points, 4 points. Bao, 5 points. Go, 4 points. Oo, 4 points. Do and O, 6 points. Low and woe, 14 points. Phew, that was worth doing. And I don't think opponent's got anything bottom left. So I've got low and woe for 14 points. And if opponent plays top right Zhao, I can stick my O next to the J. But what if opponent's got a big J play elsewhere? Well, I've got 14 minutes to consider my options. Let me get the O down before I run out of time. So, well, let me do the pleasantries. And the final score, 379 to opponent, 424 to me. A winning margin of 45 points, so a huge, huge win. Let's see what I missed. Wow, what a fantastic ending. What a fantastic game. So, it was opponent to go first, and they sorted their rack out nicely with Drably. Fibuli, that's nice, through the B, keeping just the I. I play Al for 4 more points, keeping a worse Rackley, but I don't think there's a huge difference between these plays, and Fibuli certainly provides far more scoring options for opponent, in particular vowels next to premium squares. Opponent plays Who, and Beiji, that was my play. Yep. So, fairly slow start for both of us. No bingos on the board. Opponent plays Invoice. And now, I thought about Ixtal, but not at J10. Oh, because Locks is good. So, Ixtal for 33, but that does take an S. Instead, I play Ilex for 31, which takes an S, but far less dangerously. And in particular, not in last place for a bingo, so I prefer my play. Opponent's rack plays Tut. And, oh wow, this is a rather more bingos than I was expecting. So K5, double, Pythia. Wow. Yeah, I should have spotted that ER words were available. But Pittier, Whittier, Withier, and the list goes on. Inherit also plays under there. Gosh, and there's my wretched play for only 83 points. So 17 points left on the table, which is a lot, since an S is worth 8 to 10. However, Hursty was the play, and I lead by 60. Opponent plays Finale. Phew, no missed bingo here. I play Pam for 23. Lampern N8. Yeah, I'm sticking an E over this double letter square and stopping one square short of column 15, and Lampern takes an S, and the rack leave is inferior to Pam. So I think there's probably not much between those plays. Opponent plays P, and this is the rack I struggled with, and I went for a low-scoring option, Noir for 6 points, only 12 off the best, and I kept AENR, which is a better rack leave than NOR. But L12, yeah, Earn sticks an N in the middle of column 15. So that makes the play inferior to Noir. So you've got an inferior board, you've got an inferior rack leave, but you've got a better score. And I think that makes these moves close, and I prefer the play with the better rack leave when moves are close. Now, opponent plays Cos for 47, which was a great spot, and it blocks my bingo. What do? I play Kale for 18, but L12. Interesting. I think Dank would have been better. K is covering this double letter square, so opponent can't score massively in column 15. K is not particularly bingo-y, and the rack leave of ERT is good, so I think that would have been a better play than Kale. Although I'm keeping a good 6-letter set, Ranted isn't massively better than ERT. However, it does go well with the I on the board. Now, opponent plays T's, and I have these bingos which were considered. So, urinated for 74, and that gives me a bingo's lead. But there's a blank unseen. No bingo for opponent. They play Doe. From this rack, keeping double EI blank. My rack. Sam for 37, D2. Because of Silex. Oh, wow, that would have, although it burns the A, the score is so good, I should have considered it. So, I wanted to put my M next to AD for the score, but noted that nothing went in front of TO. But I could have played Sam, and should have done. Instead, I play Ads for 17 fewer points, with the slight advantage that it retains my vowel. Now, great bingo for opponent of Needly, but that takes the front S, so what else was available? Opponent could have played I-line, one square lower than Needly. That wouldn't have allowed the triple word square to be next to the bingo. However, I-line ED does take an S in front, so I would still have had a big score in column 1, but it would have needed to be a 6-letter play rather than a 5-letter play, so I think I-line would have been better for opponent. My rack, and I have Vegas and Mavis. I think the rack leave of MT slightly better. Opponent with the Q plays Quag, could have played Quango. I think Quag probably better, makes it harder to reach this triple word square. One tile in the bag. Interesting, Marts or Morts, vowels are valuable in the end game. I'm drawing one tile from the bag. Well, it's difficult to see. You'd really need to think about each of the possibilities. And for example, W doesn't go particularly well with either of these. So I play Morts. Joe for 35 isn't best because I've got OR to go next to it, so opponent rightly doesn't play there. Instead plays Iwi to block my only out. And they have. There are no other outs. And here I'm massively short on time. I play ERR because I want to to contain the ability to stick the O next to what I think is opponent's best play or highest scoring play of Jow. There is that play, but opponent instead plays G on for 15 fewer points. And with my O, I go out with low, and the Woe play is the same play. And that was the end of the game. So, what an epic battle. Absolutely fantastic stuff. I managed to establish a lead with Urinated. There were very few bingo lanes on the board, and the pool looked unpropitious, but opponent did have the tiles for Needly, and we were set for a close endgame with some big tiles still to come. And it needed some careful consideration over what to play and what to keep to secure the win. So super exciting stuff. Many thanks to opponent for a good battle. I hope you enjoyed watching that game. Like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you next time.